I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up, then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest is Larry Raskin, a 38-year veteran of the network marketing profession, former VP of Leadership Development at ACN, and now ambassador at Zinzino, a science-backed preventative health company he believes represents the biggest opportunity in direct selling in a generation. Larry didn't stumble into this industry. He left a short-lived career in professional sports due to an injury and then migrated into his comfort zone, fitness. He went on to manage and operate health clubs in the 80s in the height of the fitness boom, working 12 hours a day. He realized if he was going to work that hard, he had to find something that he was going to own because he refused to spend his life building someone else's dream. He answered a newspaper ad, discovered network marketing, and never looked back. Over 3 decades at ACN, he helped build international markets and develop leaders across the globe. Now, at a stage where most veterans coast, he's leaning in harder than ever. Larry, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with your hosts, Gabe and Lexi. We just heard your bio, Larry. We are so excited you're here. And before I kick it off to you and hear your origin story, I just want to let the guests know something here. So this is a special one for me. You know, as many of you have been listening to us for a long time, everyone knows my mom's an English teacher and retired English teacher, and she's the one that taught me the English language and my vocabulary and how to communicate in public speaking. But 25 years ago, I met Larry Raskin for the first time at a business conference with 10,000 people in the room. And he was on stage casting vision and building business. And he became my mentor. And he's the one that taught me how to communicate and build businesses. So Larry, I'm so excited you're here. It's been such a long time that I've known you and your family. I'm just really pumped to have you be on the show. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Gabe. And thank you for your kind words. And it's amazing that it's been 25 years and to see the growth that you have gone through as a leader, as a entrepreneur, and as a real relevant voice for all business owners across all spectrums. I'm very, very proud of your success. I really mean that.
Thank you, Larry. Well, thank you for being my mentor. I always say all the time on all my posts, my mentor taught me, well, here he is. This is the guy that did it. So let's talk about you, though. This is not about me, as we know, right? I want to talk about your childhood dream, right? You were getting into baseball. You obviously got drafted. And then you kind of, you pivoted and you went into building business.
Right.
How did that chapter start? And how did that competition, that discipline, that handling failure apply today?
Well, like many young kids, boys and girls, I mean, if you played sports, and I grew up in a generation where you weren't inside, you were outside, you were playing playing sports. And, I followed the three major sports: football, basketball, baseball. And, that's a childhood dream of going to Memorial Stadium in Baltimore and watching the Orioles, and then watching the Colts, and then watching the Baltimore Bullets, Earl the Pearl Monroe. So, I did my share of emulating Johnny U and Earl the Pearl and Brooks Robinson. And everybody has that dream. And it just so happened to stick with me. I had this dream of being a professional athlete. And that started very early. And I took it very, very seriously. And I studied, how professional athletes would work out even at a young age. And it just got into my genes very young. And I just knew that that is what I wanted to do.
That's awesome. And after baseball, you were managing 3 health clubs, you had your career, but something was still eating at you, and you said you didn't want to spend your life building out someone else's dream. What was that moment of clarity like, and how scary was it for you to act on that?
Well, I was working like anybody that's devoted to what they do. And, after baseball, like you said, I fell into my comfort zone. It was what I knew how to do, right? I was a product of the product. But I realized, because I was very dedicated to what I do, very disciplined, I was working early in the morning to rather late at night, 10 to 10, 6 days a week. I call them half days, right? 12 hours a day. And I realized that, I was building someone else's dream rather than my own dream. And I got to a point where I knew that that is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a member of the club, not be someone that ran the club. And I thought about ownership of a health club, but I was done with that. I knew I wanted to get out in the world and discover what was there for me. And I just knew that I was destined to do something special with my life. And I didn't think it was going to be within the confines of a health club. What I realized is that the harder I worked, the richer that other people got. And I was the engine that made it happen. And I had no equity in that. And so I knew that I needed to be in my own business. And as I was looking around at franchising, I looked at one thing, it was pizza franchises, but the problem with that is that I like pizza. And I had this vision in my mind that 10 years from now, I'd be that really heavy guy that got away from his fitness roots and became this very large pizza franchise owner. And I said, nah, I'm going to eliminate that. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew it wasn't going to be that. And that's when I took some time off to kind of do some soul searching on what I wanted to do. And when I decided to really make an effort, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to find out how I'm going to do what I'm going to do by working for someone else. I'll figure it out along the way.
Okay, so that makes a total sense. Now, you actually answered an ad through a newspaper, which, you were walking into a room and you really didn't know what to expect. And you're starting, an opportunity here to really, get yourself involved in a new business project at this point. Why did you stay? Why did you listen? What was actually happening in that room that clicked with you to start to be an entrepreneur coming from your past role?
Honestly, I almost didn't stay. The meeting wasn't what I expected at all. I remember sitting there saying, what is this? I remember it not being representative of the ad. It had a six-figure income attached to it, and it was in a strip center. And I looked at the address, looked at the door that I had to walk through, looked at the address again. I said, this doesn't make any sense. But I went in there and I wasn't in love with the product that they had. I wasn't in love with the compensation. What I was in love with is the concept. And the concept that they were talking about was business ownership with no risk and no exposure. And yes, you'd need to have a small investment, but nothing like the investments that I was looking at for franchises, real traditional businesses where, a six-figure investment, you get one going, you get another going, but every time you open up another franchise, you're doubling your risk and exposure. So when I saw what I saw at this particular location, the only thing that stopped me moving forward was where I was. I was in an environment that was not indicative of making a lot of money. And so I went back many times over the last over the next 7 days, and I saw enough to say, you know what, this feels right. Overriding residual income is something that I could get uh, excited about beyond my own efforts. I have the ability to leverage the efforts of other people. And I got started, and it was a great beginning.
That's awesome. And you spent 6 years at your first company, learned a ton, but you realized it really wasn't the right thing for you. That's a long time to stay somewhere that isn't really working. Why did you stay? And how did you know when it was finally time to move on?
Well, I think that, there is a philosophy that you can, just because it's the wrong environment doesn't mean that you can't learn from it. So I knew that after 6 years, the company made a couple decisions that I did not agree with, and even though I felt my belief waning, I knew that I was developing my skills. I knew I was developing my leadership. I knew that I was keeping my group together. I knew how to cast vision, and even in spite of the negative environment that was eventually created, I kept the team together. And so I learned a lot of the skill sets of vision casting and promoting events and team huddles and leadership that really was the glue for me to really keep my team producing even in the wrong environment.
So let's talk about team. Let's double down on that before we move on to the next stage in your career, because you keep saying that, keeping your group together, you're training and you're casting vision. You know, you can be a great leader, but it still takes someone else to do what it is they need to do, right? So here's my question. Why do you think some people are succeeding and some people are not? What do you think that big reason, macro question, why do you think people fail?
Well, I think success in this profession always comes down to one thing. You got to either treat it like a business or you just don't. I mean, there's so many people in our profession that treat it like a hobby. They toe dip it. They want to see if it works. It isn't a question of whether it works. It's working. It was working long before you got here. It's networking, not working. So it's about a networking business. It's about a business that has been working long before you got here, and there are fundamentals. There are basics and fundamentals, what I call the blocking and the tackling of every business that you pursue. And when you master the mundane, the mundanity of it all, the rudimentary fundamental qualities that predicate success, and you can find mentors, people that you can look up to, people that you can emulate. I always look at certain individuals like, if I could only train like them, if I could only present like them, if I could only produce like them, maybe if I could do those things, I could earn like them and live like them. And so that was kind of the thinking that I had and I've taught for decades. And if you want to live a certain way, then you got to do what other people before you have already done, and then obviously duplicate that, replicate that.
Yeah, totally. And when you found ACN, you said that meeting one of the founders was all it took. What did you see in that conversation that gave you the conviction to go all in?
Great question, because the reason why I got started in a startup company was because I saw the belief that the founder of the company had in what he was doing, regardless of whether I believed in it. He was going to do it regardless. And when you sitting down in front of somebody and they want you in their business. He knew of my reputation in my prior company. I built a very sizable organization. I was being pursued and also looking at other companies to be part of. I was I was a hot prospect for him, but I could see he was not over eager, but he believed it. And he was talking about a concept that I was enamored with. It was worldwide deregulation of the essential services people use every day. And it was not product driven, it was service driven. And I said, what if he's right? What if he's right and everything that he says about what's going to happen actually does happen and I'm not part of it? I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And so I planted my flag simply because of the belief that I saw in him. And the rest is history. I decided to lead that company over 30 years internationally, and it was one of the greatest blessings in my life.
It's amazing. And you've made millions upon millions of dollars over the last 38 years. And now you are culminating that experience and the most recently launched a brand new project. Take me through what that project looks like and why is it that you're more excited than you've ever been, is what you've told me about this new project and what's happening right now within it.
Yeah, I will tell you, Gabe, that it has been incredible in terms of the journey. When you're involved in an industry for 38 years, that means you've been around a while, right? That means you're not as young as you used to be. So many decades have passed, and you'd think that, normal people would probably slow down and ride into the sunset. And I didn't have to leave my prior company. But what happened was the pandemic. And then in the pandemic, as you know, a lot of companies were impacted in a negative way.
And I want to talk more about health and wellness. After nearly 4 decades of hard charging, building organizations, traveling, recruiting, performing at such a high level, what does your health actually look like today? And how much of that do you credit to being intentional about it?
Yes, well, I've had some health challenges. When I was 43 years old, I had blockages in my heart. I had 5 stents. In 2005, I had 3 more. In 2006, I went AFib. They shocked me back into rhythm. And through God's blessings, He allowed me to continue. And for the last 17, 18 years, I was good. And so I'm very blessed that, it took me all the way to age 66, where unfortunately I didn't feel 100%, even though I was in the gym almost 5 days a week, eating well, wellness, fitness, nutrition, all of that, supplementation, taking many supplements every single day and doing all the right things. Stents can only take you so far. And then at age 66, I knew that something was a little off. I went to the doctor and I realized that it was time for me just to get one last procedure done. And I had bypass surgery. And I came out of that with flying colors. I'm back in the gym again. And I just want to let you know that it isn't what happens to you, it's what happens in you that matters and how you respond to what happens in you. And my faith is very, very important to me. And I know that if God's not done with me, I'm not done with me. So I ask God to continue and let my children, let me see my children be successful. Let me see them, I want to see my grandkids grow up. And I'm doing everything I can to live the healthiest life I can. And now it's in Zeno. It's in alignment with how I want to live and the discovery that we have within our company that we truly believe that we have the holy grail for health and nutrition. We have a product that is probably the single most important supplement that anybody can take. And cellular health is extremely important. Inflammation markers are extremely important to know where they are, the biomarkers that determine your level of inflammation. And we have a product that will eradicate a lot of the dangerous levels of inflammation down to the safer levels. We can resolve the inflammation in your body that is unnecessary and help you and your body um, experience longevity the way it should.
Amazing. So you taught me something a long time ago, and you said this sentence to me, and it still rings true today: is timing is everything in business. Right now there's a lot of trends happening in the health and wellness space, right? More people are quitting drinking just because, more people are in the gyms just because more people are focusing on their health. Again, having scares like yours, So there's a big boom right now in the industry of health and wellness.
Yes.
How is that playing in the hands of you expanding your new company globally and nationally here in the States?
Well, that is a remarkable situation that I am involved in a company that is going to be the largest preventative health company in the world. We totally believe it. Test-based nutrition is here to stay. It will be literally impossible, Gabe, for us to even imagine taking a supplement 10 years from now without getting tested for it first. Think about it. You know, when you think about other companies that are growing in spite of not personalizing the supplement, not customizing it, not having your baseline blood biomarkers reveal it. I mean, they're growing without that, but there is a change happening in the industry that things are going more test based. People will really want to know what they're really putting in their bodies. Is it natural? I mean, is it just a trendy product that can, just make you feel better, but may not be healthy for you? What we do is we test your blood. We see what your body needs, and we give you what your body needs. Everybody wants good cellular health, but they want the evidence to support that what you say, what you claim, can actually perform. Does it measure? Does it qualify? Does it quantify in terms of first test, find out where your baseline is, second test, the evidence to support that it does do exactly what we say it will do. Personalized and customized nutrition is here to stay. So we know that we are well ahead of the trend. It is a global mega trend of epic proportions. Longevity is a topic for everybody today. Everybody's, whether it be testosterone therapy, plasma replacement therapy, peptides of all kinds, it's a conversation. But when you say test based, you get the attention of every doctor, every scientist, every researcher, anybody that cares about their health and wants to know whether or not there's evidence to support it. You get the attention of everybody.
That's awesome. So let's switch gears here and talk about mindset and personal development. And I don't know anyone who has a better resume to be on this show to talk about that. You know, personal development's interesting, whether it's selling B2C like you do right now, business to consumer, or whether what we do here, my company, which is business to business. Sales is sales, right? Sales is understanding people dynamics, the psychology of why people do things. And it's interesting, you can't go to school for it, right? You can't get a degree to be in sales and understand the art of influence and persuasion and the art of communication. So where does that come from? And what do you believe, the audience listening, how do you start a personal development journey? And can you walk us through a little bit of some examples you've helped with others?
Yes, I mean, coming from my generation, Gabe, you had to buy a book, you had to buy a cassette tape or a VHS tape, right? You had to attend a seminar. There were many things that cost you money in order for you to personally develop. Yeah, the layman, the person that is beginning their journey, if they're economically challenged, they don't have the challenges with the economics, meaning the cost of a book or a cost of a seminar or the cost of that, like they did when I was going through my personal development journey. With the advent of technology, you have YouTube, you have all kinds of platforms where you can the voices that are available today that can take you from where you are in your mindset and philosophy to greater heights, the standard of excellence that is needed in order to perform at a high level, they're everywhere. As a matter of fact, anybody that you've ever heard of in personal development by doing a YouTube search you will find remnants of their voice, of their talks, of their seminars. And I truly believe that repetition is the mother of learning and the father of skill. I've learned that repetition, play and rewind, play and rewind, play and rewind, play, it's just like a song. If I want to know the song of attitude, if I want to know the song of belief, and then the song of fanatical belief or commitment, but no, a higher commitment, irrevocable commitment, an ardent, passionate desire, pursuing your purpose with passion, all these things, I can listen to certain voices and emulate those voices. Once again, the quality of your words, the quality of your language, of your success, the quality of your future will be determined in direct proportion by how you effectively communicate. The quality of your life will be determined in direct proportion by how you effectively communicate, how you express, describe, and explain the value system that you have. So when I always say to people, and you've heard me say this before, I'm sure of it, is that when you open your mouth, the world will discover who you really are. And if I say to people, and I want to persuade and influence them to hear anything, right? Respect me enough that if I think this is something you need to take a look at, you'll think enough of me to look at it. I mean, you do respect me, right? I mean, you know that I've done what I've done and the success I've enjoyed, and I want to share with you what we have here. Do you respect me enough to look at it? And so the reality is for all of us that, take personal development and self-improvement very seriously, we know that your organization will never outgrow your personal development.
Most people in any profession either burn out or go on autopilot. You're doing neither. What does your daily mental routine actually look like, and what keeps that edge so sharp?
Well, it's a great question because, it's a lot. It's a lot to lead a team and to build it again. Leading my former company that I didn't have to leave and making the money that I was making, that I went back from, I guess you could say, the heights of where anybody would want to be income wise down to zero. So I went from hero to zero, and now I'm going from zero to hero again. Now, the good news about that is that I have my family that is watching me and have taken a front row seat in me doing that. And I want to show my children that it doesn't matter where you once were, it matters where you currently are. But what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to provide for the people that you care about? What are you willing to do to make the world a better place? What are you willing to do to constantly contribute and grow in order to be of value to your fellow man? And I truly believe that setting that example as a devoted husband and father and grandfather is probably the most important duty that I have for the rest of my life, is just to finish well. It isn't how you start, it's how you finish. I've had some rocky roads. Being married 38 years it's work. It's work. But I wouldn't, with all the ups and the downs and and whatever challenges that we've had, it's all been worth it. And so for me to put out the kind of effort that requires 100% each and every day to lead a group, I'm willing to do that because I've been here before. I'm engineered for this. I'm built for this. So it's not as hard as it once was on the way up, but I'm using all of the skill and talents and leadership that I've developed over many, many years, and I'm just applying them.
I love it. So speaking of hard things, I always like to ask this question at the end, and I share a little bit of a story. But you know, I grew up, as you know, my story. I grew up in a blue collar town. My aunts and uncles and cousins all had to lift heavy things, work in the factory, work in the restaurant. Smell like fish at the end of the day because they were, coming home at 3 in the morning, bartending, and then working in the restaurant. So I only knew making money equated to physical labor, right? And then I got into communication and sales and following you and your teaching, and I realized, oh my God, I can talk and make money. This is unbelievable. I don't have to get my hands dirty, right? So, but I was the only one in my, family at that level in my family leverage or lineage, I should say, that was doing this, was doing sales and communicating without lifting heavy things. But it is just as hard, right? I mean, just lifting heavy things is not the only thing that's hard. Communicating, failing, people saying no, rejection, starting businesses, launching companies, building marketplaces is very, very hard. So walk us through, one, is it that hard? And two, how do you help others persevere without getting burnt out and leading them through those hard things to become successful?
Your journey and what you just explained is that, sometimes how you grow up and the people that are in your proximity, your family, and when you're a younger person, you're either looking at them one of two ways. You're looking at them as an example, or you're looking at them as a warning. And so, you just made a decision, Gabe, from what I heard you say, you just made a decision that there's a better way. I see where my family has been. I understand how, they're being a family, keeping the family together, providing for the family. All that's great. But is there a better way? And, a lot of it has to do with the law of association. And you made a decision in your journey that you were going to associate with people that could elevate you to a better understanding on having options in your life. And you maybe in the beginning when you were pursuing them, you didn't know which road to go down, the fork in the road. But through time and of course exploration of trying to figure things out as we get older through our 20s, right? I heard a great line that will help many people, I believe, is that um, as your children struggle to figure out what they want to do in their 20s, a good friend of mine once said, "Hey, I got great advice for you." I said, "Yeah, well, what's that?" He goes, "Don't judge your children until they're 30 years old." I said, "Explain that." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "Well, they're going to probably make some mistakes in their 20s, but by the time they're 30, they pretty much will have it figured out." And you know what? When I think about my life, when I hear about you, because I remember when I met you, that's about right. That's about right for most people. And so for you to find, and for me to find, and for many other people to find what they want to do, it's then just really understanding that it is the choices that you make and the people that you surround yourself with. The quality of your life will be determined by the thoughts you think about, and what you give attention to, you give life to. What manifests on the inside eventually will show up on the outside. And that's the reason why your thoughts are very, very important. And the people that you hang out with are very, very important. And background of what may be in your environment is very, very important, and that you control the environment. Because believe it or not, your environment impacts you whether you are aware of it or not. Your subconscious mind is taking everything in. So awareness is the greatest agent of change. And if you can become really aware of those elements that really support a great life, then the likelihood of you having one is very high.
Larry, thank you so much for spending your time with us. We so much appreciate it. Your time is so valuable. You've led thousands and thousands of people to success, and I'm one of them. So I appreciate the time, the wisdom, and helping us all on our personal development. We'll go ahead and drop your link and your email below in the post. But thank you again, Larry, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you so much, Gabe. Let's do it again. I'd love to.
Absolutely. So everyone listening, keep doing the hard things, and Lexi and I will see you on the next one. Take care.